want you to try a little, like a thought experiment with me. Imagine you're sitting in a room full of incredibly loud, incredibly aggressive people.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Right, so everyone is shouting over each other, posturing, basically trying to prove how tough they are. And right in the middle of all that chaos, there is one person who is completely silent.
The quietest person in the room.
Exactly. They aren't arguing, they aren't puffing out their chest, they are just watching. What happens when everyone else in that room mistakes that quietness for weakness?
Well, I mean, it usually doesn't end well for the people doing the shouting. History shows us time and again that the quiet ones are usually quiet for a reason.
Oh, for sure.
They don't feel the need to prove their capability because, they're already fully aware of it.
And that gap, that huge gap between the galaxy's perception and Earth's reality, is exactly where our narrative begins today. We're taking a deep dive into a really compelling piece of science fiction.
Yeah, a short story called The Final Warning of Earth.
Right, and it belongs to this fascinating subgenre known as HFY, or Humanity FF.
Oh.
It's this niche where humans aren't the scrappy underdogs of the galaxy, but rather the undisputed, if deeply hidden, heavyweights.
It's such a great genre.
It really is. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack this narrative. It's a profound exploration of human nature, the nuances of diplomacy, and how we actually define true power when push comes to shove.
What really stands out in this source material is how it systematically dismantles our assumptions.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes the classic tropes we usually see in galactic sci-fi.
Like the idea of humanity as this aggressive upstart species rapidly conquering the stars.
Exactly. It takes that and entirely flips the script.
It paints a picture of humanity that feels almost unrecognizable to us. I mean, we are talking about 2 centuries of uninterrupted peace.
Which is practically unheard of.
Right. For 200 years, Earth hasn't fought a single major war. Their fleets almost never leave their own borders. They just flat out refuse to participate in galactic conflict.
Yeah, they just opt out.
If there's a dispute over territory or trade, human ambassadors always, and I mean always, choose negotiations over threats.
And, in a galaxy filled with empires that measure their worth by the size of their territory or the destructive power of their military, that kind of behavior is a massive anomaly.
It really is. To the rest of the galaxy, humanity's peacefulness just looks like stagnation.
Yeah, the surrounding alien factions look at Earth and assume they're weak, too willing to forgive, and basically entirely lacking the industrial capacity for violence.
Which leads to a catastrophic miscalculation. There's this coalition in the universe called the Dominion Alliance.
The bad guys, essentially.
Essentially, yeah. They look at humanity, see a soft target occupying some highly strategic territory, and they decide to just take it.
Just like that.
Just like that. They launch a simultaneous, unprovoked attack on 7 human colonies. They officially claim it's a strategic necessity, but the subtext is clear. They are absolutely convinced Earth is just going to roll over and surrender.
Right. They expect this quick, decisive victory. But the actual result is a total logistical nightmare for the Dominion.
Because the colonies don't surrender.
Exactly. Every single one resists.
Sure.
The civilian evacuations are executed flawlessly, which takes incredible coordination, and planetary defense networks activate in seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, the Dominion's attack completely fails to take the colonies, but, and this is the tragic part, thousands of human lives are still lost in the initial bombardment.
Okay, let's unpack this because it reminds me of a dynamic we see in combat sports.
Oh, interesting. How so?
It's like the galaxy's full of arrogant rookies, right? And humanity is this retired heavyweight boxing champion. The champ hasn't thrown a punch in years. He runs a quiet gym, talks people out of street fights, and really just wants to be left alone.
I like this analogy.
Right, so these rookies walk in, see him refusing to fight, and assume he's totally washed up. What they completely miss is that the champ doesn't refuse to fight because he's forgotten how. He refuses because he remembers the exact mechanics of breaking a jaw, and he hates the devastation he knows he can cause.
That's perfectly put. And because those Dominion rookies only respect a thrown punch, they assume the champ is just paralyzed by fear.
Exactly.
What's fascinating here is how incredibly narrow the Dominion's view of power is. They equate aggression entirely with strength. They possess absolutely no concept of dormant power.
None at all.
The tragedy of this narrative is that the galaxy essentially forces a pacifist species into a corner, completely forgetting the oldest rule of conflict. The most dangerous warriors are often the ones who hate war the most.
And just the logistics of maintaining that dormant power for 2 centuries, it's staggering to think about.
Oh,
To
absolutely
be
not.
that perfectly prepared, humanity had to maintain a massive military-industrial complex entirely in secret.
The sociology of that secret is honestly one of the most compelling layers of the story for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for generations, human engineers and strategists dedicated their lives to building weapons they actively prayed would never be used.
Just building them in the dark.
Exactly. Imagine the cultural discipline required to construct planetary defense networks and massive fleets in secret, disconnected from the civilian grid, perhaps in, like, automated foundries hidden out in the Oort cloud.
It's wild.
It requires a society that views the military not as a tool for glory, but as a grim, heavy insurance policy.
A policy they pay the premium on every month, just hoping they never have to file a claim.
Exactly.
But the Dominion attack forces them to cash it in. The scene shifts to this incredibly atmospheric location deep beneath the Himalayas, inside the Planetary Defense Command Center.
The imagery there is so strong.
It really is. Alarms are echoing through corridors that have literally been silent for decades. The Supreme Council is gathered. You've got military leaders standing shoulder to shoulder with scientists, and there's just this heavy, awful silence as the casualty reports from those 7 colonies roll in.
You can really feel the gravity of the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, they aren't rushing to war with cheers and bravado. They are absorbing the cost of the failure of their diplomacy.
Yeah.
The realization really sets in that their 200-year experiment in peaceful isolation has a body count now.
And then Admiral Sarah Kane breaks that silence. She reminds the council that for 50 years, Earth had been sending diplomatic messages urging peace, and the Dominion ignored every single one.
Every single one.
So the council votes unanimously to issue one final warning.
Which brings us to what might be, honestly, the most chilling broadcast in science fiction.
Oh, without a doubt, Admiral Kane essentially hijacks the entire galaxy's communication infrastructure.
All of it.
Military channels, civilian networks, commercial satellites, secure government systems. Every screen in the galaxy suddenly displays this single human woman, and she is terrifyingly calm.
That calmness is key.
Yeah, she lists the grievances. She says, "We have endured your provocations. We have forgiven your attacks. But today, you murdered our citizens. You crossed the final line."
And the visual shift happens.
Right. The room behind her goes dark, and a massive star map appears.
And that map is illuminated by hundreds of glowing red markers, hidden human military installations that literally no one in the galaxy even knew existed.
It's such a mic drop moment. She issues an ultimatum. She gives them exactly 72 hours. She urges civilians to flee Dominion assets, tells neutral governments to withdraw their ambassadors, and tells Dominion soldiers to go home.
72 hours to choose peace or face the consequences.
Now, wait. Let's pause here, because if you are listening to this and thinking a 72-hour warning is a terrible military strategy, you aren't alone. I had the exact same thought when I was reading it.
It does seem counterintuitive.
Right. From a tactical standpoint, why give your enemy 3 days of advance notice? Doesn't announcing your attack and showing a map of your staging grounds just completely surrender the element of surprise?
Well, sure, if we view this purely through the lens of a conventional first strike, giving up surprise is a fatal error. But you have to remember, this isn't a conventional first strike.
Okay.
The strategic brilliance of Kane's move lies entirely in securing the moral and psychological high ground. By providing a highly specific countdown, Earth shifts the ultimate responsibility for the coming violence squarely onto the Dominion.
Oh, I see. They are forcing the Dominion to actively choose their own destruction.
Precisely. Beyond establishing that Earth's primary goal is still peace, the countdown timer acts as this incredibly potent psychological weapon.
How so?
Well, imagine being a Dominion soldier stationed on a border outpost. You have 72 hours to just stare at the ceiling and wonder what exactly is coming for you.
That would be terrifying.
Anticipation breeds panic. In that 72-hour window, unit cohesion begins to fray, commanders start second-guessing their defenses, and the sheer terror of the unknown degrades their combat effectiveness before a single human ship even fires a weapon.
That makes so much sense. But the Dominion's political reaction to this broadcast, it is the absolute definition of hubris.
Oh, it's infuriating.
The Dominion Senate is literally celebrating. The politicians are congratulating themselves. The stock markets are rallying. You have Senator Varick going on every single news network to mock humanity, claiming they are only issuing threats because they are terrified of a real fight.
Which highlights a really sharp divide we see in the story. You have the politicians listening to the roar of the crowds, and then you have the people actually looking at the data.
Yes, the intel officers.
Down in the basements of the Dominion Military Intelligence Headquarters, the analysts are quietly panicking.
Because the data shows something that should be physically impossible. Human ships aren't massing at the borders for a counterattack. They are just disappearing.
Vanishing without a trace.
Entire defensive fleets are vanishing from known space, and Dominion sensors cannot track them at all. It's like watching the ocean water rapidly recede from the beach.
That's a great way to put it.
If you don't know what a tsunami is, you might just walk out to collect seashells. But if you understand the mechanics of the ocean, you know a massive displacement of energy is about to hit you.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, to hide fleets on that scale, humanity isn't just turning off their transponders. They are manipulating space itself.
Wow.
They are utilizing localized spatial solding, or like dark energy currents, to move without leaving a recognizable thermodynamic footprint.
So they're basically invisible.
Right. But the Dominion politicians only see what confirms their biases, that humanity is weak and desperate. They ignore the empirical reality of the sensor voids because it entirely contradicts their worldview.
It's the classic echo chamber. The politicians only hear their own applause.
Yep.
And then the 72 hours expire.
Midnight, Galactic Standard Time.
Thousands of wormholes open up simultaneously across the entire galaxy. Ancient, massive human warships, some larger than cities, some larger than moons, emerge from these folds in space. They instantly surround every single strategic Dominion military location. Headquarters, shipyards, weapons factories.
The scale of the mobilization completely overwhelms the Dominion's capacity to process the threat. It's a total systemic shock.
What really fascinates me here is the mechanism of the strike. In just 2 hours, 60% of the Dominion's military infrastructure is destroyed, but there are 0 civilian casualties.
None. It's incredible.
No planetary bombardments. They don't touch a single hospital or residential block. Here's where it gets really interesting. It's like a chess grandmaster who doesn't just sweep the pieces off the board, but checkmates the opponent in 3 moves without touching a single pawn.
I love that.
It's surgical. It's less like dropping a bomb and more like injecting a highly targeted computer virus into the Dominion's bloodstream. A virus designed to instantly brick every weapon system, sever every command link, and neutralize the threat while completely ignoring the host's vital organs.
And that surgical dismantling is exactly what terrifies the surviving Dominion commanders. The true horror for the enemy isn't the size of the human guns. It is their staggering discipline.
That restraint.
Yes. Humanity isn't seeking revenge for the thousands of lives lost in the initial attack. Revenge is emotional, it's messy. Humanity is enforcing consequences.
There's a big difference.
Huge. The technological precision and sheer restraint required to neutralize an empire's military capability without harming a single civilian is astronomically higher than the crude power required to just, glass a planet.
It takes an unbelievable amount of discipline to hold back when you've just lost your own people. But they hold back because they are saving their ultimate psychological weapon for the center of the board.
The Titan.
The Titan. Near the galactic core, a new signal emerges. At first, the alien astronomers actually think a new star has ignited.
Which is terrifying in itself.
Right. But stars don't move. It is a ship called the Titan, a 3,000-kilometer-long mobile fortress, the largest warship ever built. And the moment it enters Dominion space, governments just start surrendering instantly.
We have to consider the physical implications of an object that massive entering a star system.
It's mind-boggling.
A 3,000-kilometer ship fundamentally alters the gravitational equilibrium of any space it occupies. Just dropping out of hyperspace would create a gravitational wake, capable of pulling asteroids out of orbit and disrupting enemy formations before a single shot is even fired.
Its mere mass dictates the battlefield.
Exactly.
That paints an incredible picture. But there is a vital detail the author includes regarding the Titan that we have to mention. Humanity never actually intended to fire its primary weapon.
Never. And that's crucial. The Titan was never deployed as a weapon of mass destruction. It was deployed as the ultimate instrument of psychological dominance.
It's just the threat of it.
Right. It is the physical manifestation of humanity's hidden capability. It exists simply to answer the question the Dominion implicitly asked when they attacked, which was, what are you capable of?
And the Titan is the answer.
It is. And the answer is so physically and psychologically overwhelming that the enemy's will to fight evaporates on contact.
The Dominion alliance completely collapses within 3 weeks. Member worlds withdraw, politicians flee, the entire empire just dissolves into a chaotic surrender.
It falls apart entirely.
And this is where the story pivots from an intricate sci-fi military campaign into something truly profound. Because humanity wins. They possess absolute, undisputed control of the galaxy, and they do nothing with it.
Nothing at all.
They break every historical tradition of a victorious empire.
They claim no territory.
Right.
They demand no tribute. They don't install puppet governments or annex resource-rich planets.
They just pack up and go home. They offer the exact same peace treaties they had been pushing for decades prior.
So jarring.
So what does this all mean for us? If you look at human history on Earth, victorious empires almost always expand. Rome, the Mongols, the British Empire. You win a war, you draw new borders. The fact that this future humanity achieves ultimate victory and actively chooses to walk away feels incredibly alien.
It feels alien because it requires a fundamental redefinition of power.
Say more about that.
Well, the narrative forces us to confront how we measure strength. Is true strength the ability to conquer and subjugate? Or is true strength possessing absolute unchecked power and actively choosing restraint?
That's the real question. Months later, there is a massive diplomatic gathering above Earth. Admiral Kane addresses the assembled species, telling them humanity didn't win just because they had bigger ships.
Right.
They won because they prepared, they united, and they valued life over conquest. She delivers the thesis statement of the entire story. Peace is not the absence of strength. Peace is strength under control.
And that's when the galaxy finally understands that humanity didn't want to rule them. They just wanted security.
They just wanted to be left alone.
Exactly. They wanted to tend their garden, but they wanted everyone to know they had a very large, very capable defense mechanism waiting if someone tried to trample the flowers.
I love that imagery. The epilogue tells us that for the next 100 years, there is unprecedented galactic peace. Trade flourishes, science booms, and anytime a hot-headed alien politician starts talking about starting a war, the older leaders remind them of Earth's final warning.
The memory of the Titan and the hidden fleets becomes the foundation of a golden age.
It suggests that a lasting utopia isn't achieved by eliminating the capacity for violence entirely, but by mastering it so completely that it never needs to be used again.
That's a really beautiful way to synthesize it.
I do have to push back on this idea of a utopia, though.
Oh.
Yeah, as much as the story frames this as a golden age of flourishing trade and cooperation, let's look at the actual mechanics of that peace. If lasting peace relies on the underlying unspoken threat of a 3,000-kilometer warship waiting in the wings.
If everyone is just behaving because they are terrified of waking up the giant again?
Yes. Is that true peace? Or is it just permanent intimidation? Where exactly is the line between enforcing peace for the greater good and holding an entire galaxy hostage?
That is an incredibly fine line, and I think the distinction lies in the concept of trust and intent.
Trust, how so?
It brings us back to the difference between being harmless and being peaceful. A harmless society cannot cause damage. They have absolutely no choice but to submit to the peace imposed upon them by others.
Because they literally can't fight back.
Right. But a truly peaceful society has the capacity for massive disruption, yet actively, demonstrably chooses restraint. The galaxy trusts the peace because humanity proved, by walking away from conquest, that their intent was never subjugation.
That distinction between harmless and peaceful is something we can actually apply to our own lives, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Obviously, we aren't commanding star-crushing fleets. But how often do we mistake kindness for weakness in our personal or professional relationships? How often do we assume someone is a pushover just because they don't yell, demand the spotlight, or instantly retaliate when provoked?
Embodying strength under control means knowing your worth and your capabilities and not feeling the constant, insecure need to prove them.
It's a much deeper confidence.
It's a much more grounded form of confidence, yes. You don't need to shout when you know exactly what you bring to the table.
So think back to that quiet person in the loud room from our thought experiment at the start of the deep dive. The next time you walk into a chaotic environment where everyone is posturing, pay attention to the one who is silently observing.
It completely changes the dynamic.
It really does. Are they quiet because they have nothing to say? Or are they quiet because they know exactly how to handle the room when the time comes? It completely changes how you view the dynamics of power. Give that some thought the next time you encounter someone who chooses peace